Shalom. This is Middle East in less than 5 minutes. I'm Igal, your host, and this is second part of the episode on Mehdi Hasan, the network behind the voice. Mehdi Hasan presents himself as an independent journalist, fearless, reader-funded, speaking truth to power. Let's examine what that actually means. Hasan spent over a decade broadcasting for Al Jazeera English, media flagship of Qatar's global soft power strategy. Though Al Jazeera English insists on its editorial independence, its broader ecosystem has long operated as a messaging vector for Doha, championing Islamist movements, amplifying anti-Israel sentiments, and framing Western interventionism as hypocrisy. Hasan fit in seamlessly. Now, who is Qatar? Qatar is an absolute monarchy. No elections, free press, no opposition parties. Qatar is also the world's primary financial sponsor of Hamas, hosting Hamas political leadership in Doha, providing Hamas hundreds of millions of dollars annually. Qatar funds Al Jazeera specifically as a geopolitical influence weapon. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates were so alarmed by Qatar's Islamist destabilization operations conducted through Al Jazeera that they imposed a full diplomatic and economic blockade on Qatar from 2017 to 2021. Al Jazeera has proven ties to Hamas. In 2018, Al Jazeera journalist Samir Alawi admitted of being a Hamas operative. Mehdi Hasan worked for this network for over a decade. He was their star English-language presenter, the Oxford-educated, articulate, British-accented voice that made Qatari state messaging palatable to Western audiences. How he protected his employer. While Hasan spent years attacking Israel's human rights record, he accused critics of Qatar's Sharia law of Qatarophobia, alleging that all criticism of Qatari strict religious law is racist. What are the laws he was protecting Qatar from criticism on? In Qatar, unmarried women are banned from receiving prenatal care. Same-sex relations are illegal, punishable by up to death by stoning. Migrant workers who built the 2022 World Cup stadiums died by the hundreds in construction projects. At least 400 to 500 migrant workers are said to have died in projects connected to the World Cup. Mehdi Hasan, who presents himself as a progressive champion of justice and human rights, called criticism of these laws Qatarophobia. Meanwhile, he describes Israel as an ethnic cleansing project. His own words on non-Muslims and gay people. In 2009, during a sermon, Hasan compared non-Muslims and atheists to cattle. On tape, he said, "In this respect, the Quran describes the atheist as cattle of those who grow the crops and do not stop and wonder about this world." In another sermon, he included homosexuals in a long list of abhorrent categories alongside pedophilia and bestiality, describing them as transgressive of Islam. When these recordings resurfaced in 2019, Hasan apologized, calling the remarks dumb, offensive, rant-like, and saying they hadn't been representative of his beliefs for over a decade. Fine, people evolve. Apology accepted, provisionally. But here is a double standard that cannot be ignored. Mehdi Hasan has built his entire career on demanding that others be held permanently accountable for their past statements. He has called for people to lose jobs, platforms, and careers over things they said years ago. He has labeled politicians, journalists, and commentators irredeemably bigoted based on decades-old remarks. When it's him, "I was young, I've grown, move on." The Zeteo funding mystery. When Hasan left MSNBC and launched Zeteo, he claimed it was reader-funded, independent journalism. but Hasan raised millions in undisclosed seed capital, reportedly from Muslim American businessmen. Who they are, we don't know. Why they gave, we are not told. Whether any have ties to Gulf interests is an open question. One the press seems oddly reluctant to pursue. Hasan's explanation? Protecting their privacy. A man who demands full financial transparency from AIPAC, from pro-Israel donors, from political actions committees, refuses to disclose who gave him millions to launch his media company. Given the geopolitical significance of the narrative he promotes, the refusal to disclose donors should raise alarm bells. The BBC documentary he acquired. In July 2025, Zeteo announced it was acquiring global rights to a Gaza documentary that the BBC has shelved, a documentary narrated by the son of a Hamas official, which BBC chair Samir Shah called a dagger to the heart of the BBC's impartiality standards. The BBC, not exactly a pro-Israel outlet, rejected the documentary as too compromised to broadcast. Mehdi Hasan bought it and called it vital and important. The Georgetown Symposium. On March 7, 2024, Georgetown University's Qatar campus hosted On Palestine, a symposium with Mehdi Hasan serving as moderator alongside participants with documented connections to terrorist organizations, including the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine and Hamas. The most notable participant was Wada Hanfar, former Al Jazeera Director General, who at an Al Jazeera forum in May 2024 praised the October 7 attacks, stating that the Al-Aqsa flood, Hamas' preferred term, came at the perfect moment for a radical and real shift in the path of struggle and liberation. The symposium also included Shawan Jabarin, who was convicted in 1985 for recruiting members for the PFLP terrorist organization. Hasan moderated this event. He chose these participants. He did not object to their presence. He did not challenge their statements about October 7. His post-October 7 record. In the aftermath of the October 7 Hamas attack, Hasan's outrage was instantaneous. At Israel. No call for ceasefire from Hamas. No mention of Qatar's role as financial patron of the group. No interviews with Israeli survivors. Just calibrated, continuous condemnation of one side delivered in a cadence designed for retweets. If Qatar had commissioned a narrative response to October 7, it's hard to imagine it would have sounded any different. The self-declared anti-Zionist. Hasan stated in 2021 that he considers himself an anti-Zionist and critic of the Israeli state and its ongoing ethnic cleansing project. Anti-Zionism means opposing the right of the Jewish people to self-determination in their ancestral homeland, not opposing a specific Israeli government policy, not opposing settlements, opposing the existence of the Jewish state as a concept. Hasan declared this openly. Then he spent the next 5 years presenting himself as a neutral journalist covering the Middle East. Putting it all together. Here is the complete picture of Mehdi Hasan that the trigonometry interview doesn't give you. He spent a decade as the face of Qatari state media, the same Qatar that funds Hamas. He defended Qatar from any human rights criticism while relentlessly attacking Israel. He called non-Muslims cattle in the mosque sermon, then apologized when it became inconvenient. He acquired a Hamas-linked documentary the BBC deemed too compromised to broadcast. He moderated a symposium featuring people who praised October 7 and convicted PFLP recruiters. He declared himself an anti-Zionist. He launched a media company funded by undisclosed donors. He used company to poll Americans about the Epstein-Iran conspiracy theory and then cited that poll as meaningful data. And then he sat on trigonometry and presented himself as a cool-headed analyst, just following the evidence, naming logical fallacies and calling for nuance. This is not journalism. This is influence operation with an Oxford accent. The tell, as always, is what he never mentions. In a 1-hour interview about Iran, Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Middle East, Mehdi Hasan did not once mention the 1,200 people murdered on October 7. Not once. That silence is the whole argument. If you find this episode helped you see the world differently, to understand something that bothered you, follow the podcast, rate it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you listen to it, and share it with your friends. Help spread the word. Thank you. I'm Igal and this was Middle East in less than 5 minutes. Until next time, Shalom.